Welcome everyone to our fourth episode in a series of webinars showcasing the use cases and benefits of Copernicus, the Earth observation component of the EU space program. My name is Sofia Otero. I'm part of the Copernicus Support Office, and I'll be your moderator today. This fourth webinar looks at how Copernicus data can be used in the insurance and finance sector. For instance, Earth observation data can be leveraged by a wide range of financial users and institutions. In fact, Earth observation is increasingly recognized as providing key information for investment and asset management. And on the other hand, in insurance, Earth observation data is used both for risk assessment as well as damage evaluation. I should mention that this webinar will be partially recorded and will be shared on the Copernicus EU YouTube channel. So to make the webinar a bit more interactive, we will be using Slido for live questions. If you have downloaded WebEx, you will find Slido to the right-hand side of your screen in the Apps tab. If you're joining us directly from your browser, you can access Slido using the link shared in the chat. And you may respond to the questions that pop up on Slido as we go. But also you may ask questions yourself based on the content presented today. So please feel free to type in your questions so that we may answer them during the Q&A sessions after each one of the presentations. So to start, I see that some people have already given us some answers, but as an initial icebreaker, we would like to ask you, what sector do you currently work or study in? So to begin with, as you type your answers, let me give you an overview of the agenda for today. So we'll be hearing from two experts, Ana Pérez from EarthPulse and Conrad Bielski from Riscognition. Following each one of these presentations, there will be opportunities for questions from the audience, so please feel free to type in your questions on Slido. Now, before we move on to our first presentation. I'm sorry, I'm going to stop. I know that everyone is replying to the word cloud, but I'm going to deactivate that flow. And we want to ask you, on a scale from 1 to 5, how would you rate your knowledge about Copernicus? So I'll give you a few moments to type in your reply. And in the meantime, I would like to present our first speaker today, Ana Pérez. Ana is an environmental engineer. She has over 10 years of experience in the innovation ecosystem, boosting science to market across multiple technological fields and markets. After finishing her master's, she worked in a technological center specialized in water, sustainability, and resource efficiency. Then she joined a multinational company to coordinate the technological roadmap and promote innovation through direct contact with clients from different sectors, gaining a deep expertise on market research and user needs understanding. In 2017, she moved to a satellite-based private company to push the business development and transform scientific results from Earth observation projects into real products, acquiring deeper know-how on satellite-derived applications and open data exploitation. She's now responsible for product and business innovation at EarthPulse. Anna, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the great introduction. And also thank you all the organizers for giving EarthPulse the opportunity to be present here today and to explain our experience and with the insurance sector.
Sorry, I was reminded that I should restart the recording. He received his PhD in geography from the Université de Montréal, Canada in 2002, after which he worked as a postdoctoral researcher at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory on automatic information extraction from various imaging and spectrometer data. From 2004 to 2011, he researched and developed on a variety of projects at the Joint Research Centre of the European Commission. From 2011, he consulted for the European Environment Agency and worked on a number of European Space Agency and European-funded projects, taking advantage of Earth observation data for land cover mapping and the development of services linked to flood and wildfire natural hazards. Since 2018, he has led Riscognition's research and innovation group and worked on Horizon 2020 projects and the implementation of Copernicus emergency management services, operational services for the European Forest Fire Information Service. Conrad, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay. Of course, it doesn't work now. There you go. Thanks for inviting me. I wanted to take a different sort of approach to this because, of course, this is the Copernicus Support Office. In the first questionnaire, I did see that a lot of people do not know Copernicus that well. And certainly this presentation is not going to be able to delve into all the services and data that's available. And so I definitely encourage everyone to look into that. But my focus today is showcasing Earth observation for insurance and finance. So my name is Conrad Bielski. I am co-founder of Riscognition together with Gunther Zeug. We created Riscognition just over 5 years ago. And the vision for the company was essentially to try and bring geospatial information to those who are not aware of it, who don't use it, who are not experts. As geographers, myself, I've been working with remote sensing data for over 20 years, and so I know the benefits of it. I've seen how it's been improved, especially with the new Sentinels coming out. And of course, all the Copernicus services that are built on top of that. So we certainly want to promote it. We are making the access much more easy. And so the goal here in this presentation is actually to try and show the different aspects that what we're doing with the Copernicus data, and hopefully pique your interest, whether you're from the finance section or insurance section. So just to start, again, as I mentioned, how do we bring this data closer to the users? And in today's world, where software is really the driver in many businesses, we decided to focus on spatial information application programming interfaces. So, of course, an application programming interface is just an easy way to get different services to talk together, and today it's the industry standard. So the goal is, easy integration into your existing applications. You have your business ideas, you have your drivers, you have your customers, you know what you need, and hopefully through this presentation, we can start looking at other means where you can integrate Earth observation or other geospatial location data as well. So just at the really simple level, I mean, we all know Google Maps. Maybe we don't all know how it works, but essentially you submit a coordinate and you receive some kind of spatial information back, be it knowing where you are, and so you can present it on your phone, or some kind of information that's relevant to the location that you're interested in. Moving way further and into the other aspect, AI-driven insights. So what does that mean? We have all this spatial information. We can use different types of models, past, forecasting, current situations, and this can be sort of part of the API, which also includes the integration of Earth observation data. And just to sort of give you a bit of a taste of the kinds of things that are accessible, sometimes linked to the kinds of work where Riscognition is in, but essentially even more generalized. Burned area, of course, this is wildfire in terms of climate change, is becoming a very difficult natural hazard to deal with. We can, we have an API for that. Land cover, so you want to know what's there. You want to know what was there. Population information, critical infrastructure, Fire weather index. This is more weather-based information, but of course it's also linked to other types of Earth observations as well. And even such simple things as administrative boundaries. Now, what does that have to do with financials? Well, again, if you're building a business looking into different markets, this is one way of getting information that can help you develop your business and maybe focus on different places or take advantage of that information in order to build your businesses. Of course, APIs mean that you can integrate it much more easily into your business intelligence. And that's exactly how we're trying to integrate our services for you. So I'll start with a quick sort of example. This is for the insurance sector. Of course, blockchain, fintech, it's all the rage. And just for those who don't know, blockchain is a distributed ledger, but essentially it's a way of tracking transactions. And of course, it means that we can integrate Earth observation data, and we have tested it actually with Copernicus Sentinel information. So you can imagine if you're an insurance company and you want to, and you have a policy, then you can use some of this spatial information in order to request a claim, take advantage of the geospatial data, either for the monitoring purposes or just the validation of a claim. And that information can automatically be actually accessed, both previous again and in the future. Sorry, not in the future, present and past. And that, of course, will help improve the smart contract, the process by which claims are made, hopefully making sure that the claims are correct and speeding up, of course, from a service perspective to the client. Now, in this case, we were just testing with wildfire, but you can imagine any type of natural hazard, let's say, type, especially if it's something that's visible from space. But at the same time, if we're just considering location information, we can also do the same type of observations from mobile phones, because, again, that's a type of remote sensing technique. We know the location, and we can focus in on what the picture was taken, and that can be validated either automatically or not, and placed on the blockchain. So coming to something a bit more operational, because there was a question about this. Riscognition actually is providing the European Forest Information System with both with satellite-based information. And one of the important things is hotspot detection. So what does that mean? Thermal anomalies that are acquired daily, we can actually provide that information in less than an hour after acquisition of the satellite, and we can locate where these anomalies are happening. So it could be a fire, it could be the start of fire, it could be following the fire throughout. So that's something that's happening in near real time. Then based on that same information, we can see where the burn happened. So we can map out the regions that are most affected. Of course, this is relevant to the insurance sector, as well as others. And then finally, we can map some of the, let's say, damage or severity in a number of different ways. Here, we're just showing the natural vegetation that has been affected. But of course, the more the environment is becoming part of, let's say, the insurance sector as well, these types of information are going to be very important. Another area that is really interesting is the idea of geofencing. So it's not just about knowing what's on the ground, but also allowing or fencing around your assets and being able to say whether things should be happening inside or outside. One example is from a marketing perspective. So whether your customers are going to a certain area, you know, from an environmental perspective, are people using a park? At the same time, it could be the opposite. So regions where you need to be sure people aren't going into. So again, from a risk perspective, these types of information can be used together, both the Earth observation part as well as the location information. Of course, geofencing is definitely useful in supply chain. Again, that's another sector, let's say financial sector, which is also being much more part of the insurance sector as well now. Oops. Sorry. So as I was saying before, what's really important is you know, understanding that through Earth observation we have a record of what happened, what it is, and we can keep tracking that. So again, this is just an example. Here we're looking at post-wildfire vegetation regrowth. So on the left-hand side, we're sort of seeing what we would consider as normal. Fire hasn't affected it yet. And then the same region right after the fire. And so this is just a type of analysis, one of many. This is only an example, one that we are experienced with, but of course, we can look into all kinds of other geospatial information. So we can see the time period when the event occurred and demonstrate or evaluate how bad the situation was, and then we can continue to monitor that situation. So in this case, we're interested in the regeneration. So whether the vegetation is coming back or not. But of course, similarly, that could be, you know, our homes being rebuilt after a storm or after some kind of event. There's a number of different ways that this type of monitoring and surveillance can be integrated into business management. And again, just a quick example to show, you know, sort of how these types of images look, especially if you're not used to looking at Earth observation. We see on the top row, essentially, over the full year, nothing's really changing. I'm only showing quarterly, but of course we can have much more fine resolution temporal imagery as well. And then, as we see, there's a fire event between the Q3 and Q4 in 2021. And of course, that's where we see the biggest amount of burnt area. And then we continue to follow that event. So any type of process or location that maybe your business requires monitoring, we can consider and take a look at what are the options available through Earth observations. And again, coming back more to the general Copernicus idea, risk forecasting, of course. In this case, I'm just showing a lightning forecast. In terms of risk calculations, if one is to know that there's a potential for lightning strikes in specific areas, then users can already tell their customers to do certain things in order to reduce their risk of losses, and of course improve then the recuperation from potential disaster. In this case, I'm showing a lightning forecast that can be shown up to almost 2 weeks ahead. But the same type of information can be used for flooding, well, wildfires as well, and a number of services that through Copernicus are being made available. So again, this is geospatial, Earth observation, and of course the modeling for the forecasting. So these types of services is what we try to implement, and through our APIs make them available to our customers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Conrad, for your presentation. As we did before, we opened the floor to any questions that the audience may have. You can put them on the chat or you can share them through Slido. Whilst we wait to receive some of their questions, I was wondering, because you mentioned that in the case of post-wildfire vegetation regrowth, you use the raw data that comes from the Copernicus Emergency Management Service. But you also mentioned that you could potentially follow the rebuilding of housing in inhabited areas after, say, a flooding. In that case, what sorts of Earth observation data would you use?
So sorry, correction, you're right. There is the Emergency Management Service. So that is one service that does do, as you said, well, various natural hazard mapping. Of course, that is only triggered in larger cases, and especially with by governments, let's say, who need and request the help of the union. So we also can do the same thing. And again, sorry, the question was whether we do map that. So yes, we can map the same things. Temporally, it really depends on which satellite you're using. So not all satellites sort of, I mean, when they pass over, you can't always just download the data. You have to wait till it gets sent over, processed to certain levels, and then we can grab it. So I would say within a day, you can create sort of post-disaster maps. And again, just to specify, I was showing many optical scenarios. So that means, you know, images like you and I see, but we do have options that are outside of the visible spectrum. So I showed you the hotspots, which is thermal, but we also have synthetic aperture radar. So that's, you know, night and day, cloud, rain, you name it, we can still map things. And actually with those different technologies, that's how we can extract a variety of information that could be useful for, you know, both financial and insurance sectors.
Yeah, the more sources you have, the more information and exactly. The more results that you can extract.
Yes.
We actually have a question from the audience. They say that you presented a lot of interesting use cases. Are your products active in all of these sectors already? And they're also, sorry, curious to know where most of your clients come from.
So the APIs are accessible. I mean, again, that's what we were saying is it's not up to us to sort of decide. So the clients can, you know, through a subscription, just get access to the data. So yes, those are available already. And if there's any specific or more specialized requirements, then we can work with customers either to develop open services, so the kind that pretty much any customer can have access to, or not. Of course, then they would be private. And yes, so for example, I was saying the FS operations, that is ongoing, and a daily operation. So we literally need to every day check all the satellites, process all the data, and deliver the information.
And they were asking also, they were curious to know where most of your clients came from. I don't know if you can answer that question.
Currently from Europe, but of course, you know, we definitely would love to expand. I mean, if that's a marketing question, then the usual response is, well, of course, North America is very difficult because there's, of course, a lot of competition there. Asia and Africa is also very important, I would say, potential customers, just because of climate change, and of course they have the same needs as we do. But yes, for let's call it startups, it's a bit more difficult to expand quickly into those kinds of markets.
I can imagine. We have a lot of engagement today. I'm very happy. We have another question. What is your approach into selling this data? Do you have a sales team? Is it possible to get more insight on this?
Yes. So Riscognition.com is the place to start. If you're a developer, then go to Riscognition.io and you'll see all the documentation, and you can register for your token, etc. And I would say, yeah, just send us a quick note through the website, and we'll get back in touch with you. It would be great to talk to more customers. And sorry, that's what I wanted to do in this. That's my goal here. I love Earth observation. I mean, I can see images from everywhere. I've been using them for ages. I really want to hear what the problems are where we can come and fix them that haven't been done. And Copernicus is definitely let's say, the best way to move forward, because it's free and open. So we can provide a lot of services at competitive prices. And then if there's other needs, there's all kinds of data out there that's applicable.
Well, on that note, if that's okay, we thank you again for your presentation and for your participation, and from presenting all these very interesting use cases, which basically help us show everyone all the many uses that Copernicus has. Most of us, I think, would have never imagined that there were applications maybe in the finance sector or in the insurance sector, and here we are. So again, thank you very much for both your presentations, Anna and Conrad. They were very enlightening. So we are reaching the end of this fourth Copernicus webinar. I want to thank again our speakers for such interesting and engaging presentations, and thank you to the audience for your participation and engagement. We hope that, as myself, you learned something new today about how Copernicus can be applied to the finance and insurance sectors. And if you have any other questions and comments, you can reach us via the links that I will show now on the screen. And in the meantime, I would ask you, we have opened another question on Slido, because we would like to know how useful you found the content of the webinar today. And let me now, if Windows allows, I will share you there. I guess Windows does not allow. My apologies. Okay. I will put the links on the chat. Thank you very much once again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on our next webinar. And we hope you all have a nice day. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye. Have a nice day.
Bye.